And we're live. Hey,
Yeah.
everybody. Welcome back to Wheel Talk. I am joined by Brian Kinney today because Fred is in Spain. He is enjoying some family time with Chris, seeing where she grew up and all of that jazz. So we're going to have a different guy in a wheelchair and girl in a wheelchair. So yeah, I'm excited. I have lots of questions for Brian because I haven't talked to him as much as Fred has. But yeah, before we get to all the questions, we have some interesting things to talk about, including his Disney trip. Just so
Yeah.
happens that he went on a Disney trip around the same time as I did, which is kind of cool. So we're gonna share our experiences, and then we'll talk about my maybe broken leg. But first, how are you, Brian?
I'm good. I'm good. Taking my lunch break to chat with you.
Yeah,
It's
so
much
it's
better than
awesome that
working.
it lands right when our thing is. It's like perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Do you
dig
have
it.
to do you change your lunch break, or does it actually land right where the show is?
I mean, I usually take it later, but I just
Oh.
give everybody the heads up like, hey, I'm going to take a long lunch. And,
Oh.
they're all cool with it. As long as I
Oh.
give everybody a heads up notice, it's not
Yeah.
a big deal. So,
Oh, that's good.
but yeah,
That's good.
we went on a Disney cruise. You went to Disneyland, right? In California?
I went to Disneyland. Yeah. I had a friend
Okay.
that went on a Disney cruise. Actually, my friend has gone on so many Disney things because her daughter has a neurological condition. So she's gotten like a Make-A-Wish trip to Disneyland. She's been to Paris and Disney Paris. I think they've been to Disney
Oh,
World. They just went on a Disney cruise. They've been like everywhere. And I actually didn't really ask her about the accessibility of the Disney cruise.
yeah.
So I'm excited to hear your experience because you went on a cruise, not Disneyland. So how
Right.
was that?
Right. It was good, but yeah, I have a couple of complaints. Well, first of all, I want to kind of roll back. The reason we didn't go to Disney World is
Yeah.
just because it's freaking chaos. Everybody that
Yeah.
I've talked to, you're standing in line forever or rolling in line. It's overcrowded. And also, my daughter's only 6, and she has been riding on my lap her entire life. So I knew she wouldn't have the walking stamina to do actual Disney World. And we always went on cruises as a single couple. So we're like, hey, we'll just do this Disney cruise, as a family. And it's so family focused. That's the great part about Disney. I mean, it's made for kids pretty
Yeah.
much, but adults can still have fun too. So we get on the cruise boat, and I'm like, I had no worries that it was going to be handicap accessible.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of Disney's like MO. That's just what they're known for. But then we go out to the family pools. So like, have you ever been on a cruise before?
I've never been on a cruise ever.
Okay. So usually like the main pools are midship on the 11th level. So, and that's usually always where families hang out. They do have separate areas that are adult only. So they have adult only pools, but obviously we had our daughter with us. So we had to go to the family pool. They aren't accessible at all. Like not even a little bit. So, and I was shocked. I'm like, the first day that we were there, all I did was spend time chasing my family around from deck to deck. Like they would be on deck 11, and then my daughter would want to go up to deck 12 to ride, one of the water rides, and then she'd be coming back down. So each time I wanted to go to a different level, I had to go back inside the ship, wait for an elevator, take it up, find them again. And we didn't want to get split up because we didn't have like texting ability on the ship. So they were waiting for me to get to them, and then they'd wanted. It was chaos. I mean, the first day we were there, I was so pissed off because I'm thinking like, this is supposed to be accessible. Like
Yeah.
I felt really angry because there's kids in
Yeah.
wheelchairs. You
That's what I
know,
was going to say. It's not even about the adults, but there's plenty of
right?
kids in wheelchairs and with mobility issues that want to go on a Disney cruise. Like what do you
Right.
when you say not accessible, like no pool lift or like were there stairs? Like what do you mean by not accessible?
Both. So the pool, the way it's set up, so they have a false floor that will close in over top of the pools. So
Mm-hmm.
like when they're throwing parties and stuff like
Yeah.
that, they basically create a large deck. But that means that the pools just to get down to the water level is probably a 3-foot drop.
Oh.
And then the other issue too is the perimeter of the pool. I mean, like say it's like Mickey Mouse's head. That's
Yeah.
like the main inside of the pool. All around that is just like a waiting area where it's probably less than 6 inches deep.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, even if there was a lift, you couldn't like if it was me trying to get in the pool, what is it going to lower me down into 6 inches? And then I got to slide my ass into the pool. It just wasn't accessible, and I think it was more supposed to be aesthetically pleasing than actual, functional. Yeah. I wish I have pictures. I mean, I have tons of pictures. And I'm going to make a future YouTube video just about, the accessibility of the cruise. But I was shocked. I mean, like, what the hell?
That's really interesting.
Yeah. How do you have a family pool or family pool area that is not accessible? It just didn't make any sense.
And it also doesn't make any sense that the other ones would be accessible, but not the family pool. You know what I mean? Like the one that the kids would want to go in. Did they have pool lifts anywhere?
So that's the other thing. They have mobile pool lifts. So the requirement is that you let them know 3 hours in advance if you want to use a pool lift. And then you have to be there in order for them to set it up. And you can't leave that area. Like you can't say, hey, can you set this up? And then, we're going to go grab food and come right back. Like you have to stay there.
Oh.
And there's only a certain amount of time that they'll let you keep it out. And I think the reason they do that is just because it's ugly. I mean, it's so stupid. I just feel like that's why they wouldn't set that up. So
that makes zero sense.
Yeah.
Like, what does it matter if the pool's open all day? What does it matter if the lift is there?
Right.
Yeah.
So what I did, like after the first day, I was upset about the whole non-accessibility, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like I'm not trying to be Karen here. Like nothing's accessible. I wanted to go to guest services, and I was like, they'll take care of it, I'm sure. I get to guest services, and it felt like they were almost deterring me from wanting to use the pool lift.
Yeah.
So basically what they said there's two adult pools that they can set it up at, which would have been great if we didn't have a kid with us. And one of the kiddie pools, they could set it up, but like I said, the design of the pool, even if I was to put the pool lift up and get in, I'm going to be in 6 inches of water. That's not going to work very well.
Yeah.
So
that's really interesting. That's really unfortunate. And it's so, when you have a family, I think there's something about there's like this guilt that like you're ruining their experience because the accessibility sucks. And it's not your fault, but it also feels like it's your fault when you're trying to manage your accessibility and their experience at the same time. We went to Mexico last January, and there was only 2 elevators basically like in the entire resort, which was like crazy. Other than like there was like room blocks, there was elevators in those, but in the main area there was only 2 elevators, and they were on very far, like either side, really far. And so anytime I had to change floors, it was like a significant distance to wheel back to the elevator. Like if we wanted to just go from one place in the center to the other place in the center, there's a giant staircase going up the middle. So my family could literally just go up the staircase and be at the place that they wanted to go upstairs, right above where we were downstairs. But I couldn't do that. I had to wheel all the way over to the elevator and all the way back to the center. And it probably took like 10 minutes at least.
Yeah.
Every time I wanted to do that. So like if we wanted to change floors, then I was like wheeling for 10 minutes. So I probably wheeled back and forth to that elevator. I'm going to say, not even exaggerating, like 2 hours a day, like out of my day, just to go back and forth to the different floors. And it was like, this is bonkers. Like why would they not put the elevator in the middle or have one in the middle also? Because there was plenty of like walls in the middle that went, into stores and bathrooms and stuff. So I'm like, there was it wasn't the building that couldn't have accommodated an elevator. It's, I guess, the cost, because elevators are expensive. They're expensive to maintain and all of that stuff. But it was just really bizarre. And And so, yeah, you saying that you had to go chasing your family, that's what it feels so much like.
Yeah.
Just chasing your family. And if something isn't accessible, even at Disneyland, like some of the areas, they were all basically accessible, but there were some areas that, this way was accessible and the other way wasn't. So I would be wheeling that way to catch up with them to where they were in the line or whatever. And I'm just like, this is so dumb. And you can't change every bit of everything to make it perfectly accessible, but
Right.
a Disney like cruise that is meant for kids. And what if a family had a kid in a wheelchair? Like they're gonna plan their day 3 hours in advance, and what if that kid is like tired, or you know what I mean? Like it's just stupid. That's so dumb. You can't, especially with kids, you can't plan 3 hours in advance. Like that's unrealistic.
Right. And they even said, when I went to guest services, they said they gave me the heads up that I'd have to let them know 3 hours in advance. And they said, our suggestion to you is to stay on the ship when we are in, it's called Castaway Cay, which is their Disney private island. Gorgeous. I mean, gorgeous island, like beautiful sand beaches, very accessible there. Why the hell would I want to stay on the ship while we're at this beautiful place? Like it was just, like I said, it felt like they were almost deterring me from using it. And if we had known about the kiddie activities, like they have a lot of kid activities where they're fully, chaperoned and only the kids can be in a specific place. So it's very, very safe. But we didn't experience that till the last day. And then we were like, damn it. Like we could have done so much more stuff, just my wife and I, because she loved doing activities with other kids. And it was one of those things where you don't know until you know, until the last day. And then you're like, all right, well, that was great. Now we're going home. So, but I will say, I did want to throw in like everything else on the boat was extremely accessible. The room was amazing. Everywhere that you could eat was perfect. It was just the pool. So
I've always heard that like on a cruise, the rooms are really small. Is that true?
Well, except for the handicap rooms. So
they're
like
still big.
Yeah, they have accessible rooms, like completely open. It's probably like 1.5 times the size of a normal cabin. Because I've been on cruises prior to my injury, and they're pretty tight. But with the accessible room, I had no issues getting around. The bathroom was great. I was able to shower by myself, which I don't know about you, but that's something that a lot of times when I visit hotels, I need help showering only because I don't have any core.
Yeah.
I don't have any ability to hold my body up. So I can't lean down unless I have a bar to grab in front of me. Do you have that issue?
I do have that issue. I have made things work oddly enough a lot of the time, especially if I'm just traveling with my kids, because they're getting at the age where like they don't want to see my naked butt. I've had to kind of figure things out. But especially if Joe is there, I don't take the risk of falling almost ever, just because he's like, that will ruin the holiday more than, he's like, you'll just be pissed if you fall and hurt yourself. And then, I generally get help, but that is a problem. I mean, a lot of the times I don't even get an accessible room when I travel, just because in Canada, at least, and in a lot of I don't know, I haven't really tried that much in the States. I just normally rent regular rooms because I'm so used to doing it in Canada. But in Canada, they always just have like one king size bed in the accessible room. And so it doesn't accommodate a family. And so it's annoying. So I always just get regular rooms. They don't have, accessible bathrooms. I can usually get my wheelchair in and get on the toilet kind of thing. But the shower isn't accessible. And so I always have to like make something work. I've showered on a cooler before. I always use the like fold out luggage caddy thing, and I just put like towels on it. I did that at the last vacation and forgot that there was like, because it's just straps of like material. It's not like a solid bottom. So I put a bunch of towels on it, but then I forgot. So I went to transfer and I like pushed really hard, but I pushed really hard into nothing.
Yeah.
And so then I went like whoosh, and then I lost my balance. And I was like, Jamie, you have to come help me. So she came and like tipped me back up. But the showering situation is super annoying. Yeah, I've never been on a cruise. I'm kind of afraid. I'm afraid I don't like flying that much. I do fly fine, and I'm kind of afraid of water too. So I'm always like freaked out about like, a ship going down, which is very rare. I've never even heard of a cruise ship like sinking in the last however many years, but still, it's like I'm a
Yeah.
little freaked out about that. The other thing that I'm always kind of scared about is like ocean sickness. Can you even feel it? Like, does it kind of go up and down or no?
No, I mean, there was a couple times that I could barely feel the boat rock, but it's such a large boat that they really don't have that issue because it's got
Oh,
so much mass, and then it has these like outriggers underneath the water that fold out on the
yeah,
sides just to keep it a little more balanced.
yeah,
So yeah, I would say there was only one time that I kind of was like, oh man, I can kind of feel the boat moving, but it didn't make me sick or anything. It just, yeah,
yeah.
I've never had that issue with motion sickness and stuff.
I have this like dream of doing what my friends and I affectionately call the crib cruise, where because I've Googled how many accessible cabins are on like Carnival cruise lines and stuff. And there's like 32 or something
Yeah,
like that. So there's a lot. And I'm like, wouldn't it be so cool if it was just like a cripple takeover? Like
I was
every
gonna
cabin
say,
was everyone, and then we just like go like in a convoy everywhere, and people are like, what the
yep,
heck? They would be so freaked out, but it would be so much fun. I
yeah,
think it would be so much fun. I have it like on my list of like things to like boldly do is to like ask a cruise line to give us like a complimentary stay for a certain amount of social media coverage, and they can be covered as like the most accessible cruise line, and
yeah,
basically get social media coverage from like 32 influencers or people that are going to be posting about the cruise, all of that stuff. So I have that on my list because I'm like, I think it would be so cool to do.
yeah, yeah. It would be awesome. What I think maybe when I think about this current cruise, I feel
Yeah,
like maybe my expectations were a little bit too high because in the past I've been traveling with adults. And
yeah,
like my best friend, he can just pick me up and put me in a
yeah,
pool. So like I didn't even have to think about accessibility that much on the prior cruises. And we were adults. We were able to relax, lay out
yeah.
and just chill. There's no relaxing with a child on a vacation.
Mm.
It just isn't a thing. And I'm sure you know that too.
Yeah, and especially like you have a daughter, so
Right.
she's probably never going to be, get to the point where she can lift you. My son is the oldest one, is he's 16, competitive boxing. So now he can lift me anywhere. So
Oh
traveling with him
wow.
is no big deal. And I was like, as a woman, uh it's less like my husband will just lift me anywhere. But as a man,
Mhm.
I bet you your wife just doesn't lift you all over the place. She might help you transfer. So yeah, what
Right.
I always wonder what that's like as a guy, because it's like being in a wheelchair is less convenient for a guy because you just don't have the ability for everybody to lift you. Although, like you said, you do have friends. But does your wife ever like
Mhm.
lift you or piggyback you or anything?
Yeah, she is a beast. I mean, you look at a picture of her and you would think, nah, she's not that strong. She's freaking strong. Like she's always
Oh,
been that way. She was a gymnast when she grew up, so she's got a lot of that just muscle that just I don't know. It's just always been
yeah.
there. So yeah, I mean, she doesn't lift me out, outside of the wheelchair or anything like that, but getting upstairs and stuff, like we've got that down pat where,
Yeah.
I'll kind of do an assist, pulling my wheels backward as she's bumping me up a stair. And yeah, I mean, we really don't have issues. It also helps that I'm not 300 pounds,
Yeah.
so I don't
It
know.
totally it totally helps that you're not 300 pounds. I always say that that is like a strategy for independence when you are disabled, is staying thin. And my cousin, who's also in a
Mhm.
wheelchair, she used to be quite heavy. I think she lost like 80 or 100 pounds. And she stays light now because she's like, it has opened up her world. She's been like very skinny now for, 20 years. But when she was a
Mhm.
teenager and she was first in a wheelchair, it was hard to get around all the time because people just couldn't lift her. And I know I have some friends that like they're not, overweight or anything. They're just tall. Like I have one friend that she's
Mhm.
6'4" or something like that. Like she's a very tall woman.
Whoa.
And so she's just big. Like her it's comical looking at her legs in the wheelchair. Like, I don't mean to laugh, but it's so funny when somebody is that tall and like their legs are so much of their like body, and you're just like, wow. They're wheeling
Yeah.
around and she's like beside me, and her legs are easily like, I can't, like, they're like this much longer than mine in the front, and it's so funny. But her boyfriend can't lift her at all. So when they go to
Oh,
places, his family's that's not accessible, it's really hard, and it limits a lot of what you can do. So being a small human, being a thin human, being a light human is really helpful in terms of independence and freedom. And people will offer to lift you. Like if you fell on the ground in the middle of like a public place, people would offer to help get you up. But if somebody's
yeah.
300 pounds, are they going to offer to help? Which is really sad,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they would offer to help. They just
whether
need
they,
some backup, like
yeah,
somebody
whether
give me
they
a
could.
hand.
Yeah, exactly. Whether they could. When Jamie was about 18 months old, I fell. She was on my lap, and normally I had a seatbelt on my chair that I would buckle her in with, but just didn't do that because we were so close to the car. But I hit a bump in the sidewalk, and we both fell off. And because I was more worried about like setting her down so that she didn't fall on her face,
Yeah.
I fell right out of my chair. And Jacob was about like maybe 4.5 or 5. And I was trying my best to get back in the chair, but I just could not get it. And so I was like, you got to go get help. And so he like runs around the corner. I'm terrified because my 5-year-old just ran out of my sight and I can't even chase after him. He brings back like an 85-year-old guy. I'm like, oh God, this guy is not
Not
going to be any
helpful.
help, not helpful. But he did get me in. He helped because I was mostly getting in by myself. He just needed to kind of lift me under my armpits. But it was so funny
Yeah.
because sometimes not everybody that wants to help is capable of it. But this old guy was so nice. He was like, what do I have to do? How can I help? And
Yeah.
it was great. But yeah, the strength of the individual that's offering to help is sometimes a factor.
Right.
That's so funny.
Actually, you made me think of a story. I had the same exact thing happen. I had my daughter on my lap and we were wheeling around the block and I caught, a sidewalk edge, where the sidewalk is just a little bit higher in one
Yeah.
spot, dumped us both out. I landed on top of her.
Oh,
Like it was terrible. I mean, and she was tiny. But what I usually did was I would strap a gate belt around us, kind of like a seat belt.
yeah.
But this time I couldn't just happened to not find my longer gate belt.
Yeah.
Because usually what I do is I wrap it around the back of the chair, the
Yeah.
backrest of the
So that
chair.
you're both
And
in the
then,
chair.
yeah, so we're both like connected. But she was just connected to me. So as soon as I hit that edge, dump. And then, she like scraped her face. I mean, it was a thing. And then you've got neighbors coming over and it's just embarrassing as hell. Like, okay, I just totally biffed it with my kid, and then I sometimes wonder if they think I'm, an insufficient dad because I'm in a wheelchair and I
Yeah.
can't. I don't know. Those thoughts just went through my head, but I'm glad I didn't really
Yeah.
kill her. We didn't have to go to the hospital, so that was good.
It's really terrible when you hurt your kid because not because of your wheelchair, but like, the wheelchair is sort of contributing. When Jacob was like maybe 8 months old, he was crawling and he went under my wheelchair and tried to come through where my caster was.
Oh
And
God.
just the way the caster turned, he got his head in and I was trying to get his head back out and it was not going. And he was trying to pull himself back and
Oh,
freaking
poor
out. And I
guy.
can't wheel anywhere. So I'm like phoning Joe and I'm like, Jacob's stuck under my wheelchair. And he's just like, okay, like, I don't know what to do. So he's like trying to leave work. And eventually I just had to like manhandle his head and like push it back. And he scraped
Yeah.
his head and he was crying. And I was like, I'm the worst mom ever. But I'm like, do I try and pull him out forward? But he was a chubber. So I'm like, I am not getting this kid out forward. I don't have the balance. I could barely lean over. Like,
Oh man.
it was terrible. And yeah, so I was like, I felt so bad. I think that's like other than like dropping Jamie when I fell out of my wheelchair, I think that's like the worst. But yeah, I always wonder now as the kids are older too, because like I'll take kids places. I took a girl, like one of Jamie's friends, on a cheer competition, like, and I always wonder like what the moms think. They've always just been like, yeah, sure, take my kid. But I wonder if like in the back of their head, they're like, is she actually like a safe person for my kid to be with in the car,
Yeah.
Just alone in a hotel room and all that stuff. In terms of my ability to like, protect them from danger or a predator or,
Right.
and I've honestly never had a parent. Well, I guess they would never tell me outright. They would just say, no, you're not allowed to go. But,
Yeah.
and the parents that do let their kids, come places with me, I guess they're not afraid. But yeah, it's one of those things that I wonder a lot. And I worry about this prematurely, like with my grandchildren. Like I worry what my daughter-in-law will think of me babysitting my grandchildren.
Yeah.
Because I don't want, either my daughter-in-law or my son-in-law, if should I have them, to think that I'm incompetent. Like I raised my own kids. But yeah, that's like it's a worry. Yeah. Do you ever like take kids on play dates and stuff with you in your car and stuff? Do you ever worry about other parents thinking that?
I haven't done that yet.
Oh,
But I've had neighbors come over to our house and stuff when it's just me
yeah.
by myself. And they didn't really seem to care that much.
Yeah.
I think they would prefer if my wife was here too, but I don't know. Sometimes other parents are just like, yeah, go. I don't like just get out of the house for a little bit. Get out of my face. Like,
Yeah.
we all have that,
Yeah, I think most parents, like I said, I've never really had an issue with it. And even at school, like when I'm teaching, there's been a couple times where like a principal has been like, there's a field trip today. Do you feel comfortable going? I'm not sure what the train is going to be like. And if I say yes, they're like, all right, you follow the bus, you're good to go. They've never been like, yeah, you shouldn't go on that field trip or do that thing or, supervise in that area or anything. They're always just like, if you can get out to that field, go. Like it's good. They never worry about that. But I worry about that because I'm just like, if a kid falls and somebody needs to run for something fast, I'm never running, for the first aider or something. I'm always going to be like, so I always pick kids. I'm like, if something happens, like you're the guy, like you gotta be my wingman. Right. And they're usually pretty good, but, and thankfully, like knock on wood, nothing has ever happened that, I've been really scared about. Jamie choked once when she was like 4 and I had to pick her up off the floor. That was really scary, but somehow I like had the strength to do it. And I like got her on my knee and I gave her like the Heimlich kind of thing and she was fine.
Yeah.
But I'm always afraid of that choking or something when they're, bigger than what I could pick up. But I would do what I had to do. I would get on the floor and figure it out or I don't know. Scary.
That's one of my worst fears too, is choking.
Yeah.
Like I got one of those, it's like a vacuum sucker
Me
machine
too.
on the mask.
Me too.
Oh yeah. I have that, because I'm like, if you choke, there's only so much you can do as far as the Heimlich goes. There's only so much I would be able to do for my daughter.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have a tool. Plus it's actually for me too. Because since I'm such a high injury level, I don't have the ab strength or anything like that to be able to, if I choke on something, really get it up. So yeah, just wanted to have something just for my family to use just in case. So I don't die, that would be nice.
I never thought about using it on myself, but that's actually like really smart. But yeah, I have one. I can't remember what it's called. It's like LifeLock or something. No.
Yep.
Is it LifeLock? Yeah. So LifeLock, if you guys are like worried about choking, and it's super easy to use. All it is like a one-way valve so that the air can't go in, but it can come out. So like it creates a suction and pulls out whatever is like in the person's throat. And it's just like a face mask thing with a suction thing that you put on it. And so I've trained my kids on how to use it. I made them practice using it when I'm not home. And hopefully we never ever have to use it, but it's peace of mind. I should travel with it though. That's one thing that I hate about the driving with a kid. So I can't get in the back. So like eating is crazy. Like the vehicle that they used to have had a 6-way seat that turned backwards and my lift went into the middle of the van. But this one is just a lift that picks my wheelchair up and I just get into the front seat. So I'm basically, I could, I guess, climb back there if I really had to, but I'm sure it would be terrible, me trying to get back there and I would just get stuck in a hole. So not being able to get to my kid while driving or like in the car is something that took me a while to get used to. Luckily, the kids were like older. Like I only had this vehicle for like 5 years. So they were both like, 7 and like 11 or whatever when I got this vehicle. But yeah, I don't know. Can you get to cause you have a car, right?
Yeah. So I've got a sedan, and then I've got the sports car, and then we have an SUV. So,
okay.
And it's a small SUV. It's a Acura RDX, so it's not
Yeah.
real big. So the good news is what I can do is recline the driver's seat all the way back. And that's how I get my daughter buckled in usually.
Really?
To recline it and just get the buckle on that way. Because it's kind of a pain in the butt to do from, I don't know. I can do it from the outside, especially in the 4-door car that I have. The 2-door car, forget about it. That's just a big giant pain in the butt trying to get her into that. So yeah, that's just my fun car. And that's not for, family use.
Until she's old enough, like 12, then she can sit in the front seat.
Right.
Or get in.
Around the neighborhood and stuff just for fun. But other than that, yeah, we don't really use that car. I keep seeing comments pop up, and I'm like, I want to see them.
I know. I'm always like, I want to make sure. I don't know if I said this at the beginning. I forget every time that I want to answer actual questions that you guys have. So if you do have questions, put them in the comments, and we'll try and take like the last, bit of the podcast to actually answer your questions. We can do this one because we both just went traveling. So Hybrid, what items do you usually bring when traveling long distances? I would like to know what type of catheter you use. Could you please get it for me? I don't know if I could get it for you, but I'll answer this first and then I'll let you answer the same question. So when I'm traveling long distances, if I'm going anywhere, I always take my catheters because I don't know whether I can get them wherever I'm going. And I did find out, like when I forgot my bag in Mexico, that you can get catheters in Mexico, just like going to a medical supply store, but they're not the same as the ones I use. So if you were like in a real bind, you could get some catheters there, and you can get catheters, in the US and all that stuff pretty easily. Although I heard from a friend, because I was just going to California and I wasn't going to take catheters, but you have to have a prescription in order to get catheters in California. Yeah. So you don't have to have a prescription here. So you can just order them if you want.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so that was new to me. So she was like, yeah, you should probably just bring them because you have to go see a doctor to get a prescription in order to order them here, which was really interesting. So I always take my catheters at the very least. And then this last trip that I went on, because I sit on like blue absorbent pad thingies when I do bowel routine. That's on my chair. And after I get out of the shower, so I don't get my wheelchair all wet. And I actually sleep on those too, because they just help my butt slide. And then if I have an accident, so I use those. And then I have like incontinence pads that I put in my underwear just in case I like leak or anything. And I have like rubber gloves for my bowel routine. So those kinds of things, sometimes I don't take. I didn't actually take them on this last trip, and I bought them when I got there. So I just went to Target and they were like puppy training pads, which are the same as the blue pads. They're just not medical. They're not medical things, but they're the same. So I just went and got that. I got my incontinence pads at Target. I got baby wipes, which I use. So all of that stuff I was able to purchase when I got there. And then a lot of it I just left down there because I only had a small bag. But I always take catheters, any medication. And those are like the bare minimum things. And then I pack really light in terms of clothing because, most of my bag is medical stuff, which is annoying. And the type of catheter that I use is a Coloplast SpeediCath standard. That's what I use. So yeah, what do you take with you, Brian?
But pretty much the same stuff. Like I said, Laura, like you said, the top of my luggage is all just medical supplies. Like I take all my catheters, I take the gloves, I take a pad for the shower. It's a rubber like honeycomb pad that I can put on a bench because a lot of accessible rooms or anywhere, it's just a hard bench. And I knew that would not be good for my skin. So I always take that with me. A lot of times I'll take my smart drive with me. I don't use that very much, assisted wheel. But if we're going really long distances, that kind of helps. So that's pretty much what I take.
I forgot to mention that I always take my toilet seat, like things. They're just like little rubber things that basically like stretch and go onto the toilet seat itself. Like they're it's hard to describe, But they're just little rubber toilet seat things. They stretch over the edges of each side of the toilet seat, and they help me sit higher on the toilet, and they help keep my tailbone off of like the hard seat, because my sit bones and my tailbone are very sharp. So I always take those. And then I typically take like a shower gel thing. One that I use is called an Action Gel Pad, or Blake Medical makes these gel sheets that you can put anywhere in the shower and stuff. So I take either one of those to protect my skin. And if I forget the shower thing, then I just put like a bunch of towels. But it also is annoying because then you use up like 4 towels that are soaking wet, and then the maids are like, what's going on? But yeah, those are basically like the travel things. It's always interesting how people do things differently when they travel. And one of my like pet peeves is that they teach people, at least here a lot of the time, to do their bowel routine on a commode chair. Because I think it's really hard to travel with a commode. Do you do your bowel routine on a commode chair?
Hell no.
Yeah.
That just sounds like too much work, you know?
Yeah. I know.
I always just get an accessible room. But I wanted you to send me a picture of those pads that you put on the toilet seat.
I will.
Because I feel like that would be great. I'm always paranoid when I'm in a hotel and I'm sitting on a hard toilet seat, because I've got a padded one at home. But yeah, just normal toilet. It's an ADA toilet, which sits a couple inches higher than a regular toilet, but there's really nothing else special about it than that.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I don't like about accessible rooms, is like that the toilet is higher, because I don't like my feet dangling. But you're taller than I am, so your feet probably don't
my feet don't dangle. No.
But my feet dangle, and I hate that because I feel unstable when my feet aren't touching the ground. Like I don't have any stability. It's fine. I'm like I've done it enough times. But yeah, and I used to do bowel routine. Like I used to do bowel routine in between my legs in the front, and now I do bowel routine at the back. So I like sit forward and I reach the back, like at the back, and it seems to work for me. But I never really did bowel routine on a commode before I was really independent. My mom, and when she helped me do my bowel routine, then I did it on a commode. But yeah, ever since I moved out of the house, I was like, this is bull. I'm not taking a commode with me when I travel. Like, this is so dumb. And I was just actually reading in like a wheelchair group that I belong to on Facebook. One of the girls was saying like, I can't take my commode with me. And she fell off the toilet when she tried doing it on the toilet at a hotel. And she was just like, this is dumb. What does everybody else do? And I always say, practice the things that you're going to do when you're traveling while at home. Like, I always think it's like a terrible idea to just be like, I'm going to just figure it out when I'm traveling, which, you know, to some extent you have to figure out certain things while you're traveling. You can't predict everything that's going to happen. But if you want to learn how to do your bowel routine not on a commode, then I suggest you practice it at home first so that you can kind of get good at it. But yeah, no, I'll send you the toilet seat things. I've shared this so many times. It is probably my number one thing that I get asked about on my videos whenever I talk about it, is like, where do you get these things? And it's just this Canadian, they make like foam rubber things. And they just make these toilet seat covers, and they have like a 1-inch one and a 3-inch one. I don't recommend the 3-inch one because it kind of puts you higher. But yeah, so many people that I know use them. And my friend, she told me about them because she's from Saskatchewan, which is like the next province over to me in Canada. And there's like it's called Diamond Athletic Medical Supplies. They sell it there. And that's where I get people to order it from, because they'll ship wherever, because they stopped putting them on Amazon. So you'll just have to like call this obscure store. It's not obscure. It's like a big medical store, but it's in Saskatchewan, Canada. They'll ship it to you, I promise. And it's about $100. It'll be cheaper for you because your dollar is better than ours. So it'll be like $80 for you probably with shipping. And they're amazing. Like, they're light. You can put them in a bag. They're just small. They keep your butt off of the toilet. They're not super soft, but soft enough that it protects your skin. And you can wash them, disinfect them. You can do anything. And they go on any toilet seat. Like, I've never encountered a toilet seat that you can't put them on, because there's just a little lip on the bottom that you just stretch and put it over the toilet seat, and then you get on it. But yeah, so that's a must have for me when I travel, because my butt can't handle sitting on any regular toilet seats. But
yeah, I'm part of the bony butt crew myself. So I know how that goes.
Speaking of bony butts and hips, I wanted to talk about this obscure like ailment that I'm having.
Yeah.
And I think it's something with my hip, but I'm not entirely sure. So, and if anybody in is like that's watching, put in the comments if you think you know what this is or you've had something similar to this, because I am very confused. So, my spasticity on my left leg was just really odd the past month and a half. I still have like reflexes, so like the not the extension, the flexion. Yeah. So like when your foot, when your foot comes up and your knee comes up, it keeps
Mhm.
doing that just like randomly. It would do that randomly. So when I would transfer, it would do that. When I would move a certain way, it would do that. I would get like instant goosebumps on that leg. And generally when that happens, it means that like I hurt something. So my
Mhm.
spasms are generally what is the, I don't know what it is. Flexion, extension, like, so they'll go straight, not
Right.
like up like that. So if they ever go up, it means like something's hurting. If I've ever had a pressure sore, or if I've been sitting on something, or if I ran over my foot fell behind my caster and I ran over it, that's what'll happen. So I always
Mhm.
know it's like a pain response of some kind, and it's just been doing it forever, or like this month and a half. So I thought, I pulled a muscle or I did something, because I got my physio to look at it when it was first starting. He was like, it doesn't feel like bone related, because you still have like good range of motion in your hip and your knee and your ankle and everything. So I wasn't super worried about it. I went to like Disneyland. I did all that stuff. I did go on a ride and my legs got jostled around a lot on the ride.
Oh, wow.
And they were kind of freaking out after that, but it settled down and it didn't give me too many problems. But just in like the last like 2 or 3 days, it's gotten really bad. Like I can't move in bed. Like if I tilt my hips to the right, it
Mhm.
immediately freaks out. I'm sweating profusely. Like if when that response happens, I'm immediately drenched in sweat. Like my whole leg is drenched in sweat. Um, it's like clammy, goosebumps. And it's so weird to me because there's nothing swollen. I don't see any red marks or anything. I don't have a pressure sore. I can't, I can do my stretches fine. So if I'm sitting forward and my legs are
Mhm.
straight, I can sit forward. I can pull my heel up. It doesn't make that response. It's only if I'm like laying back in any way and I stretch out my left hip, or if I transfer and I land too hard on my left hip. So I am very confused about what I've done, because you would think that if I broke something, it would be swollen or bruised.
Yeah. I mean, even if it was just a small fracture, I mean, your
Yeah.
range of motion really wouldn't change, I don't think. But
Yeah.
it sounds, yeah, I'm on the same page as you. Like I've had, I've broken my leg, I
Mhm.
told you the crazy
Yeah.
story about that.
Yeah.
And it felt like, I noticed my spasms increased. Um, it just feeling like that sick feeling. Do you have any of that? Like that's
I
how.
Yeah, I had like it's if I see I'm sitting fine right now, like my leg isn't sweaty or anything, but if I move a certain way, then I get that like sweaty kind of like, not like I'm gonna pass out entirely, but like just something's not right. Like I woke up this morning and my legs were like uncontrollably spasming,
Yeah.
and that left leg was just like freaking out, and I was like, I don't feel right. Like this doesn't feel good. So I got up, my legs were sweaty and just like full of goosebumps and clammy for like the whole morning. And then as soon as I'm sitting in my wheelchair, where I'm sitting on like a proper cushion and all of that stuff, and I'm not moving, then my leg is fine. But
Mhm.
anytime I try and move, then my leg goes crazy. And I know that like I'm always just like, should I make a doctor's appointment? So I was like, do I
Yes.
make a doctor's appointment, go to the doctor? But then they're going to send me for an x-ray. I'm going to go for the x-ray. It's going to take a couple days to come back in. Then if you know what I mean? So I'm like, I could either do that or I could go to urgent care, like emergency or whatever. But then I have to wait for like an hour. But then I'll get the answer faster, ultimately.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm just like being really lazy about what I should do. Um, and it's bad because you can't feel, like that's the annoying thing. It's good that you can't feel, kind of,
Yeah.
because it's not causing me any pain or discomfort. But it's also horrible when you don't know what's going on with your body below your level of injury. Like you're just
Mhm.
confused. And it's one of those like wonderful things about being paralyzed that is annoying, because you don't know what's wrong. And it's like a mystery. And I'm just like, oh, this is so
Yeah.
annoying. Especially
It's
when
like
I
you
go
have
to
to
the
read your own body language, you know?
Exactly. And going to the doctor and being like, especially ones that like they're not familiar with spinal cord injury, and especially here in Canada, a lot of the doctors are so clueless. So I will go and they'll be like, "Well, do you have pain?" And I'll be like, "Well, I can't feel anything." And they'll be like, "Well, what's happening?" I'll be like, "Well, I'm spasming." And then they'll just be like, "Well, spasms are kind of normal." And I'm like, "No, this isn't normal." Like I've
Right.
gone so many times. I know when I have a UTI, like absolutely know when I have a UTI. And it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what the culture says or whatever. My doctor is very good now about like, oh, if you have a UTI, because, but some doctors are like, yeah, I don't know whether you have a UTI. And I'm like, I know I have a UTI. I know exactly what a UTI looks like for me. Like I'm incontinent all the time. And,
Yep.
and sometimes they just are dumb about it. So I'm just a little like annoyed, and I can't get into my own family doctor for another week and a half. So then I would have to make a doctor's appointment with somebody else in the office that is not knowledgeable about, my condition. And it's just annoying. So I will go to the doctor. But
I feel like urgent care would be a good call because, like you said, you can. I think what you need is X-rays.
I do
X-rays
need
of
x-rays. Yeah.
both legs, or not both legs, but the one that's causing you
Yeah.
issues. Because I feel like that's the answer. I feel like there's something going on with a
Yeah.
bone or something. That's because the way you described it is exactly what my body would do too.
Yeah.
So
I'm I'm going to go. So I might go after this and just sit. I'll like bring a book, um, and read if it takes a long time. I checked because you can check here. It tells you what the wait times are at different like hospitals. And this morning when I checked, it was like 30 minutes, and now it's like 3 hours. I'm like, oh,
sucker.
everybody was like, we're gonna wait to go in the morning. But yeah, so that's what I didn't break my leg, but I might have broken my leg. So I don't know. So yeah. If anybody's like worried about me, I'll keep you guys posted and I'll give you guys an update next Monday. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's super annoying when you don't know what's going on with your body. It's just one of those things that is the joy of being paralyzed, I guess.
Yep.
Um, how long did it take for your bone to heal? Like when you actually had, and what did they do? Did they cast it? Like what did that look like?
So yeah, my leg was broken in 3 different places. Ew, I just blew a spit bubble. That was weird.
I
Yeah,
didn't even
so
notice.
yeah, I just saw a little bubble float in front of my face. Anyway, it broke at my hip, like where the socket goes into my hip, and then my tibia and fibia. So basically, the upper bone of your leg and the lower bone of the leg, it was broken in 3 places. So the
Oh,
only option I had was to have surgery and have
yeah.
hardware put in.
Yeah.
So I've got titanium and screws and all that, just kind of
Yeah.
bolt me back together. But yeah, once I had that, I would say I was like fully healed within 6 weeks. It didn't take that long. And the doctor was paranoid because I'm paralyzed. He thought it was going to take longer to heal
Yeah.
because he said, the blood flow is not the same for repairing bones as it is for somebody that's walking and moving,
Yeah.
their muscles and stuff like that. But he did follow up x-rays 6 weeks later, and he said everything looked great, looked like a normal, person that would have broken their leg. So
Really?
yeah.
How long have you been injured?
I got injured in end of 2009. It was September
Oh,
of
so you're like
2009.
10 years after me. So my bones might be a
Yeah.
little weaker. Hopefully it's not broken. I really don't want to have a broken bone because that would suck. But
I'm
yeah,
definitely going to be breaking something eventually because I know that osteoporosis is going to happen. I don't think I can dodge it.
I know. Well, yeah, I don't think we can dodge it. And I've like, thankfully, I've never had a broken bone other than maybe like a toe, which I didn't even get checked out because I was just like, yeah, they're not going to do anything for it anyway. But it's definitely at a weird angle
Yeah.
now. But other than that, I've never broken anything below my level of injury. I've only broken ever one bone in my entire life, and that was my one vertebrae that I broke in my accident. So
Yep.
I'm like very lucky. And I hope that I actually have like decently strong bones and, that I heal quite fast, which I think I do. I'm not one of those people that has like a cut on my leg that never heals below my level of injury or anything.
Mhm.
But it's just more annoying than anything to Like it's like when when your baby is little, when you have something like below your level of injury and you don't know why they're crying and you're just like, oh my God, what's wrong? I don't know what's wrong with
Exactly.
them.
It's like being attached to a large baby.
Yes,
It's exactly what
exactly.
it's like, because you don't know, and they can't tell you, what's wrong with them. Just like your legs can't really
Yeah.
speak and say, "Hey, I'm broken."
That's
But yeah,
hilarious. I never thought of it like that, but like, yes, we are managing the bowel and bladder of a large baby and
yep,
hauling around, sometimes, tantruming, like leg spazzy, like toddler.
yeah,
It's a very interesting dynamic for sure, but I'm going to rename my legs like, toddler legs or something.
yep.
That's so funny. I'm just gonna see if there's any more questions. I do have questions for you though.
Okay.
So I wanna, if there's no questions in here, then I'm gonna ask you the questions that I'm curious about. Yeah, I don't see many questions. So I don't recall how you were hurt. My brain wants to say a motorbike accident, but I'm not. Oh, what
Yep.
is it?
That's what
Okay,
it
so
was.
okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So when I was 25, and I was leaving work, and I was pulling out of my work parking lot, and to get onto the main road, there's a bunch of parallel parked cars on that street.
yeah,
So it was one of those situations where I probably should have waited and really looked a little bit better, but there was a car coming. As soon as I started pulling out, I see this car coming. So I just cranked on the throttle and got a little too close to the curb because the road started to curve.
yeah,
I mean, it's one of those situations where I had ridden that same, way and
yeah.
same area so many times, but this day it was just a little bit different where I just somehow got too close to the curb. There was a bunch of dirt in the,
Mm.
in the gutterway, and that made the bike wash out, and just happened to hit a tree head first. So
Oh,
the side of the street was lined with trees every probably 20 feet or so. And the tree was small. I mean, had probably only been there for 2 years. So it was
oh, so it's not
really,
even like a
it
thick
wasn't a big
tree.
tree. No, but I hit it directly at the base.
Oh,
And that's what smashed, basically just kind of compressed me. And then my spine broke in two completely separate pieces. Um, yeah. But I was knocked
crazy.
out. I was knocked out at the time. But thank God I had that helmet. I mean, there's no way in hell that I would be here if I didn't have that, because I would have splattered my brains all over the place.
Yeah, that is crazy. I've known so
Yeah.
many people. I know so many people that were injured on a motorbike. And it's either like washout, like
Yeah.
too gravelly, or it's getting T-boned, or sideswiped by somebody that didn't see them like in their blind spot or something like that.
Right.
But I know
Yeah.
Jacob,
Who knew they were dangerous? You know?
no, my son just said yesterday, he's like, I think I'm gonna get my motorcycle license. And I'm like, for what reason? And he was like, to
Don't.
ride a motorcycle. And I was like, no, dude, like they're just not, it's not, I don't know. There's plenty of people that I know that have ridden motorbikes their entire life and have never been hurt, but
Yeah.
there's just random the likelihood of having like not like a freak accident, but like that, yeah, like you said, you were on that same road a million times and it was just like this one little patch of gravel. Um, you can't
My
control
thought,
that.
yeah. And the thing is, like, I absolutely loved riding motorcycles. Like, I loved it. But
Yeah.
for anybody that isn't a current rider, I would say it's kind of one of those, like, the pros don't outweigh the cons.
Mm-hmm.
The risk versus reward, you kind of have to think about that. And I don't know. Obviously, I'm looking at it through a different lens now that I'm paralyzed. But I remember at the time I was like, well, maybe I'll break a leg or I'll break an arm if I fall off. That was my mentality when I first started riding a motorcycle. I didn't even consider my spine. I didn't even
Yeah.
consider. So, and I always wore full gear. So that was what helped also. I wasn't road rashed. I mean, I only was going about 30 miles an hour when I fell
Mm-hmm.
off. So, but yeah, they're dangerous. I loved them and I still think they're cool, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it anymore.
Chris says, in the comments here,
It comes to Chris.
Chris says, my 18-year-old son rides a crotch rocket and scares us shitless. Chris is in a wheelchair. So, it would scare you, I bet. You can't control what kids are going to do. Like my son's in competitive boxing and I just had this conversation with him the other day. I was like, the chances of which I have, like, all the faith in the world in him becoming whatever level of boxing he wants to be, and he could be anything he wants to be. But I'm like, the chances of you getting hurt on the way are higher than you actually succeeding to whatever, you know, that highest level of boxing is, professional boxing. So I'm like, you just have to know that whether that risk is worth it for you, whether you want to have, you know, multiple concussions and have a traumatic brain injury that you have to deal with, chronic headaches, or even worse, that is going to potentially affect your life and potentially affect your ability to be, you know, a father or be present with your kids or enjoy your life in general. You can't change what they're going to do. Just like I'm sure Chris has told his 18-year-old son a million times, like, please be careful. I would rather you not do that, but they're going to do what they're going to do. And even though my son says he knows the risk, he understands the risk, I'm like, you understand the risks about as much as I understood the risks of being in a wheelchair when I went snowmobiling. You know, like I knew that I wanted to be with my friends and where they were going. And the reward of me being accepted and going to that place was higher for me than the risk of me being hurt. And for Jacob, it's, you know, the like reward of recognition and, you know, being fit and all these things are higher for him in the reward category than he perceives the risk. But if he got hurt, then he would realize, you know, maybe those things weren't worth the risk, because you can still be fit and, you know, spar in boxing and do all the things. You just don't have to actually be in a ring where you get your brains bashed out for like the actual competition. So it's a hard thing with kids. You just can't really control what they're going to do. And no matter how many people get hurt on a motorbike, people are always going to ride them.
True. Yep.
Yeah.
I feel you.
It's hard. It's really hard. But yeah, I don't know. Some things, I guess you like, one of the things my husband always says is that like the riskiest thing we do every day is get behind the wheel of a car, which is true. But you also have to live your life. You have to go to work. You have to go to the grocery store. So, you know, you can't necessarily stop living entirely, but you can choose to have a safer mode of transportation.
I don't like living in fear, but I mean, it's exactly what you said. It is what it is. You know, there is an inherent risk to getting in a car. But if you think about a motorcycle, there's no cage, no airbags. They're harder to see. And in terms of a crotch rocket, like I've been on those things, and it is so freaking tempting just to crank on that throttle, and all of a sudden you're doing 120 miles an hour.
Yeah.
On two wheels, like effortlessly. Yeah.
There you go.
That's how you say it. So yeah, it's just, I don't know.
I know. When we were in LA, when we went to Disneyland, we were driving in like the traffic to go to lots of places, but we were going to Universal Studios. So on the way back, it was crazy busy traffic. And there was a bunch of motorbikes that were just going straight in the middle on like, you know, in between the traffic and stuff like that. And I'm going, oh, dude, like
that always pisses me off.
And especially in LA, people they change lanes so fast. Like they are not signaling and waiting. Like if there's a hole, they're going. And I'm like, if you are in that guy's blind spot, you are so gone. Like my dad used to drive like semi trucks, and he saw so many times like motorbikes and cars where like they would be in that trucker's blind spot over and just like boink, like, you know, like a friggin' chess piece or something off the road, just flying like 30 feet in the air. And I'm just like, oh my God. So yeah. This just reminded me of an interesting thing. This has nothing to do with motorbikes, but I was riding my hand cycle yesterday and I almost got run over by a van. And it was a good thing I was paying attention, because this old guy was not paying attention whatsoever. I was at a crosswalk, and like we were at the lights, and we pressed the button, waited for the walk symbol so that we were like safe to walk. And he was turning left into the lane that I was riding across. And I was like, this guy is going way too fast, because some people like they kind of creep out and wait. So I knew that like he might be doing that, but I'm like, he's going a little fast. So I like stopped. He turned left, like no joke, like this much in front of me. Like I was like, oh, I'm so glad I stopped. And then he saw me, like when he turned, obviously, like he looked sideways and saw me, and it scared him because he was not paying attention whatsoever. And then he kind of like slowed down. And I kept going or whatever, but I'm just like, there's nothing you can do about it now. You didn't hit me, but it was scary. So now I'm like, you know, I'm a little paranoid about being on a hand cycle on busy roads, which I usually don't like to do, but sometimes you got to cross the busy roads to get to the trails or just ride around. Right. And my son was so mad because he was right behind me. He's like, the guy looked directly at me and he's like, he just didn't see you because you were like lower, I guess. But
oh, he was on a bicycle? Your son was?
No, yeah, my son was on a bicycle too. So like we were riding bikes and I was on my hand cycle, but
gotcha.
And it's really low. But yeah, it was scary. Yeah, it's a good thing I was paying attention though, because I was just like, he's going too fast. I'm going to slow down. Yeah. But if I had gone like maybe just like 2 feet ahead, he would have hit the front of my bike and I would have just like rolled. Yeah. Scary, but
I'm glad you're paying attention.
Yeah. I had a friend get hit by a car in a hand cycle and she was fine, but it's the low aspect of it is scary because you're so low. Like being in a wheelchair, you're low in general. And then when you get in a hand cycle, you're, a foot lower even. Right. And it's really hard to see. And I even put my flag on, like I have a flag that's like so tall and he still didn't see it. But yeah, I know that you can't just like avoid risks at all. You got to live your life, but you can be careful. Somebody just like, have you got a 6-inch flag on your hand cycle? Somebody else said, I do. I put it on and it didn't help.
6 foot. 6 foot flag. 6-inch wouldn't do a whole lot.
Okay, so somebody is asking if their question got answered, if it's too personal. So I'm going to go up and see if I missed something. Just hang on one sec. If you guys are watching or listening on Spotify, this is why I'm quiet for a second. Oh, here. Do you get a lot of UTIs? I'm just wondering. I don't get a lot of UTIs. So it's been a year since my last one. I got it last May was my last UTI. But I'm like, I have ridiculous OCD type things about my bladder. Like I drink a lot of water. I take all of these like natural bladder herbs. I'm almost too much. I eat raw garlic every day. Like it's a lot and it stresses me out preventing the bladder infection. So sometimes I think I need to just chill out about getting the occasional bladder infections. But when I get a UTI, I pee nonstop. So I can't hold any urine whatsoever. And
like even like you'll cath and then 5 minutes later you're leaking.
2 minutes. Yeah. Like literally 5 minutes later, I will pee my pants. And it's not just like a leak a little bit. I'm like, all of the pee that's in my bladder is coming out except for like, 100 milliliters maybe. And so it's very uncomfortable. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. So I would rather actually have to go to the bathroom every hour or every 2 hours and flush my bladder constantly than to be peeing my pants every 5 minutes. Like it's just so terrible. But I've gotten like, I'm overboard now with like the amount of things that I'm doing because it's starting to stress me out just, doing all the things. But no, I don't get them a lot. So knock on wood. Okay. I think my cousin, somebody's just sharing stories about the motorcycle things. So yeah, there's a couple people sharing stories about their motorcycle accidents or people that they loved that were in a motorcycle accident. But I think that's all the questions. I do have a couple questions for you, but I'll save them for next time because I know you're going to be my co-host again in the future. Because I have questions about like your relationship and how you handled the transition or the adjustment from being able-bodied and all of that stuff. Because that's something new to me because I obviously met my husband after I was paralyzed. So I'm so curious about that. So maybe we can talk about that next time.
That's a story in itself.
Yeah. So I want to talk about that. And if you're my co-host again, I want to talk about like relationship dynamics, like how your wife reacted to all the personal care stuff you have to do and all that stuff. So I think that'll be a great topic for next time. But yeah, we're at the hour mark. So I think we're going to sign off. Do you have anything else that you want to mention before we leave or did you want to talk about before we leave?
You're putting me on the spot. I'm trying to think. Was there something I wanted to ask? Damn it. I don't remember.
Well, we'll have to save it for next time. That's okay. We'll save it for next time if you do remember. Thanks so much for watching, everybody.
Thank you guys.
We'll get you back on another episode of Wheel Talk. See you guys.
Sounds good. See ya.
Bye.